What happens to Gilas Pilipinas if Justin Brownlee cannot play? That question is suddenly becoming much more important as the national team prepares for a crucial window, with Brownlee still recovering from an injury. And while his absence remains hypothetical, the impact could be enormous. Because Brownlee is not simply another name on the roster. He has become one of the players Gilas can rely on when the offense gets stuck, when the pressure rises, and when the team needs someone capable of creating something out of nothing. So if he cannot suit up, Gilas would have to change the way it attacks. Kai Sotto, AJ Edu, Dwight Ramos, and the rest of the lineup would likely need to take on greater offensive responsibility. The team could no longer depend so heavily on one primary scorer. Ball movement, three-point shooting, and contributions from multiple players would become even more important. But here's the problem. You can replace points. You can redistribute shots. What is much harder to replace is experience. Brownlee's composure, international experience, and ability to remain calm in pressure situations are qualities that don't simply appear on a stat sheet. And with Gilas needing every possible advantage in its remaining games, his availability could become one of the biggest factors surrounding the team. But that's only one side of the story. While everyone is watching Brownlee's situation, another Gilas story has been developing around Rhenz Abando, and this one involves some surprisingly strong criticism. And this is where Rhenz Abando's response becomes especially interesting. The issue began after veteran sports journalist Homer Say-Sun criticized Abando's decision-making and described him as a dumb player. The comment quickly drew attention, particularly because Abando remains a player many Filipino basketball fans believe can contribute to Gilas. But instead of turning the situation into a personal feud, Abando responded in a much calmer way. He acknowledged the point behind the criticism while making it clear that he felt the wording was harsh. And that distinction matters. Criticism of a player's basketball IQ, decision-making, or consistency is one thing. Labeling the player himself is another. Abando's response also highlighted an important reality about international basketball. Athletic ability and spectacular plays alone are not enough to guarantee a place on Gilas Pilipinas. That is particularly relevant for a player like Abando, whose explosive athleticism has made him one of the more recognizable Filipino wings. But at the national team level, coaches need more than highlight plays. They need players who understand spacing, make the right reads, defend within a system, and know when to attack and when to move the ball. And this brings us back to the bigger question surrounding Gilas. If Brownlee is available, the team has a proven offensive focal point and another player capable of making difficult situations look manageable. But if he isn't, the burden shifts dramatically toward everyone else. That could create an opportunity for players who have been waiting for a bigger role. And perhaps that is the real test waiting for Gilas, not simply replacing Brownlee's scoring, but proving that the team has enough depth and basketball intelligence to remain dangerous without him. Because when your biggest weapon is unavailable, that's when you discover what the rest of the roster is truly capable of. And for Gilas, that test could arrive sooner than anyone wants. From a basketball standpoint, the Brownlee situation exposes something deeper about Gilas Pilipinas, the difference between having talent and having a reliable offensive system. If Brownlee is unavailable, the solution cannot simply be, someone needs to score his points. The bigger challenge is replacing the responsibilities he normally carries. Gilas would need more players creating offense, more movement without the ball, and better decision-making when defenses collapse. Kai Sotto could become an especially important piece because his size gives Gilas a different way to attack. AJ Edu can also provide interior presence, while players such as Dwight Ramos could be asked to shoulder more responsibility on the perimeter. But none of those players has to become Brownlee. The smarter approach would be collective. And that is where three-point shooting could become critical. If opponents can pack the paint and force Gilas into difficult half-court possessions, the absence of a proven offensive focal point becomes much more noticeable. But if the perimeter players consistently knock down open shots, the floor becomes wider, creating opportunities for Sotto and the team's other interior players. The other factor is experience. Brownlee's value to Gilas is not limited to scoring. He has already played major international games for the Philippines, and that familiarity with high-pressure situations is difficult to reproduce overnight. Meanwhile, the latest reporting indicates that Brownlee's availability remains a genuine concern, with reports saying he has yet to join Gilas practice while recovering from multiple injuries. That uncertainty makes the depth of the roster even more important. And this is exactly why Abando's situation is worth watching too. His response to criticism may be less about one controversial phrase and more about the mentality required to earn another opportunity. Because at the international level, talent gets you noticed. But decision-making, discipline, and consistency are what keep you on the floor. Now comes the bigger picture. Gilas Pilipinas does not necessarily need to panic if Justin Brownlee cannot play. But the team would need to adapt quickly, and that could tell us a lot about where this roster really stands. The latest reports indicate that Gilas is taking a cautious approach with Brownlee as he continues recovering from ankle and hamstring issues. The national team is reportedly not rushing him back, prioritizing his recovery before he returns to basketball activities. That is understandable. The goal should not be to force Brownlee onto the court before he is ready. A compromised Brownlee could create another problem rather than solve one. But if he is healthy enough to play, his presence changes the equation immediately. And if he isn't, this could become a defining opportunity for the rest of the roster. Kai Sotto, AJ Edu, Dwight Ramos, and the other Gilas players would have to show that this team can win through collective production rather than depending overwhelmingly on one offensive centerpiece. At the same time, Rhenz Abando's response to criticism offers another lesson. A player does not have to agree with every criticism to learn from it. His willingness to acknowledge the point while pushing back on the harsh wording shows the kind of mindset that can help a player grow. Ultimately, both stories lead to the same question: who is ready to step up when Gilas needs them most? Brownlee's availability may determine the team's immediate ceiling, but the response of everyone around him could determine how far Gilas can actually go. And that is why the upcoming window is about more than one player. It is a test of depth, discipline, decision-making, and belief. For Gilas Pilipinas, the answer will not come from one name. It will come from the entire team.